Hola YouTube, Capital G here. So got back from getting my window installed. I was on Pojo and that led me over to Ideal 808, which has told me that the new card that's going to be released in the Yu-Gi-Oh manga series, you know, those paperback books that we get every so often, the ones that had Thunder King and Asaddario and Light and Darkness Dragon and so on and so forth. It's going to be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal book this time, which obviously it made a lot of sense for us to get an Xyz monster. It looks like this, it says on Ideal 808 that it's going to be coming out around December 4th, so you're going to be able to play this card this format actually pretty soon. And it's number 50, the Blackship of Corn. Oddly enough, the freaking ship is made out of corn, which would probably do horrible if it was actually in some type of water, but it looks like it's floating through clouds. Makes a lot more sense. It's rank 4, it's dark, it's a plant Xyz effect monster. I guess the only reason it's a plant because corn is a plant. Its effect is as follows. Once per turn, you can detach one Xyz material from this card. Then target one face-up monster your opponent controls with less than or equal to attack of this card. Send that monster to the graveyard. If you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. This card cannot attack in the turn you activate this effect. Okay, so a lot of people say that I'm always down on the promo cards. I can't be down on this one, guys. This is, why do I like this card? I think it's solid. I think it's practical. And probably the main reason I like this, it can be used in so many different applications. Now, because extra deck space is gotten so tight with, you know, there being a multitude of Xyzs that you need to use, a lot of decks still can use synchroing. Other decks that aren't really synchro heavy can even be fusion heavy, like E-Heroes and Gladiator Beasts. There's always the possibility of, you know, contact fusing with Cyber Dragon, which people might start citing because Kara Curry's coming back and so on and so forth. But I think that this card still can easily fit into a bunch of good decks, but space may be an issue. It's still definitely a solid card on this right. What are some things I like about this card? I like cards that deal direct damage. Why? Because direct damage is very hard to stop, and you can always use direct damage in main phase 2 to end out games. That's one of the main reasons why Dark Strike Fighter got banned, is because you just attack for like 60 or 6,000 damage, and then main phase 2 you just launch everything for game. You know, to a lesser extent, you'd be able to do some you'd have some possibilities, like if you attack for, you know, a bunch of damage, like your opponent's monsters. Like, let's say your opponent has a Spirit Reaper in attack mode. You go summon Rabbit, get two Saber Swords, ram them both into that Reaper, and then in main phase 2, you know, launch or use this effect. Actually, you know what, replace Reaper with Marshmallon. For some reason, I don't know why anybody would have a Marshmallon in attack mode, because if you targeted the Reaper, it would die, and I don't believe you'd get the 1,000 damage. But you get the point I'm saying. Effect or direct damage is really, really hard to stop, so I like any card that is playable and does direct damage because it's game ending. It's a game sealer. Second, this gets around, like, this is monster removal, but it gets around, you know, your opponent's problem cards that they might have. Like, let's say you just have that intuition, that duelist intuition, that your opponent has the Mirror Force, or they have the Forbidden Lance, or D-Prison, because, you know, D-Prison and Mirror Force, they're coming back because Insectus is now dead. And it's like, you don't want to run into that, but you need to remove your opponent's Saber Swords so that they don't drop a Logi on you next turn. Well, this card answers that problem. You don't have to attack. You can just make it and launch their little Saber Swords or Kabazars into the graveyard, do some direct damage. So I definitely like that. Again, when you see a rise of traps in the format, then effects like this that just straight up remove monsters are definitely going to be valuable. I like the fact that it's an instant answer to cards like Gachi and Zenmaines. Outside of that, I mean, those cards are kind of difficult to deal with. I mean, there's only about maybe 6 or 7 great ways to answer them with one card. I mean, you've got obviously Tempo, BLS, and Chaos Sorcerer. Outside of that, they're pretty difficult because you either have to like banish them or you have to send them to the graveyard without destroying them. Otherwise, you trigger their effects. But Black Ships, it sends to the graveyard, so I like that. You'd be able to get rid of them and again do that 1,000 damage. And then lastly, again, Marshmallon and Spirit Reaper exist. They're cards. You know, Marshmallon is used in burn decks. It's at 3 now, and Spirit Reaper, you know, probably is still going to see a little bit of play. You know, this gets rid of just a lot of cards like your opponent might have a Snowman Eater sitting there in defense. Well, instead of attacking it, you can actually just send it to the graveyard and do, you know, like 1,000 damage. So I think that this is an all-around solid card. It's definitely practical. I don't understand why it's a plant. I mean, I know it's made of corn, but it just really looks like a fiend, but whatever. Let me know what you guys think and if you're going to pick this card up. Remember, first week of December, guys.